Our story started like a fairy tale. I met Jessica in college, and it was love at first sight. Her smile could light up a room, and her laughter was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. We were inseparable, the kind of couple everyone looked at with a mix of envy and admiration. We got married right after graduation, full of dreams and plans for the future. The first 5 years were pure bliss. We built a life together, bought a small house, and supported each other through thick and thin. I thought we had it all, a love that was unshakable, a bond that was unbreakable. But I was wrong, so very wrong. The changes were subtle at first. Jessica started working late more often. I believed her, of course. Why wouldn't I? I'd make dinner, wait for her, and she'd come home exhausted, barely touching her food before heading to bed. The late nights turned into weekend work trips. It's just for a few months, she'd say, kissing me goodbye. The distance between us grew, not just physically, but emotionally. Our conversations became shorter, our laughter faded, and the warmth in our home turned into a cold, uncomfortable silence. I tried to talk to her, to understand what was happening. I'd ask if she was okay, if the stress from work was too much. She'd always brush it off, telling me I was overthinking things. "We're fine, honey. Just busy," she'd say, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. The intimacy we once shared vanished completely. It felt like I was living with a stranger, a ghost of the woman I had married. I felt a gnawing emptiness in my chest, a sense of dread that I couldn't shake. I knew something was deeply wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to face the ugliest possibility. The truth came crashing down on me one rainy Tuesday afternoon. I had left work early, planning to surprise Jessica with her favorite takeout and a movie night, a desperate attempt to reconnect. As I pulled into our driveway, I saw another car parked out front, a sleek, expensive sports car I didn't recognize. My heart started pounding. Walked to the door, unlocked it quietly, and stepped inside. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Not just Jessica's laughter, but a man's deep, booming laugh coming from our living room. I froze in the hallway, my hand still on the doorknob. The takeout bag slipped from my fingers, landing with a soft thud on the floor. They were laughing, sharing a bottle of wine, looking at each other with a familiarity that ripped my heart to shreds. In that single moment, our 5 years of marriage, our shared dreams, our entire life together, it all turned into a lie. Every memory we ever made was now tainted. Every "I love you" she ever said now echoed as a lie. But I knew that a messy, loud confrontation was exactly what she would expect. It wouldn't give me any real satisfaction. No, my revenge would be different. It would be silent, calculated, and it would dismantle her world just as she had dismantled mine. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I started by looking at our finances. We had a joint account for household expenses, but I discovered she had opened a separate credit card account in her name. The statements, which I found hidden in her car, told a story of expensive dinners, luxury hotel stays, and gift-all things we hadn't shared. Each transaction was a fresh stab in the back. My plan began to take shape. It wasn't about hurting her financially, not really. It was about exposing her lies and taking away the life she was so carelessly enjoying at my expense. I took screenshots of the credit card statements, made copies of hotel receipts, and even managed to get a photo of her car parked outside Mark's lavish apartment on a night she was supposedly on a business trip. The final piece of my plan involved our anniversary, our 6th anniversary. Jessica, in a rare moment of feigned affection, suggested we throw a big party at our house. Let's celebrate us, she said with a bright, fake smile. It was the perfect opportunity. She invited all our friends, family, and most importantly, her colleagues from work, including her boss, Mark, and his wife. Wanted to show off her perfect life. Little did she know, she was setting her own stage for her downfall. The days leading up to the party, I was a wreck, but I held it together. I helped her with the decorations, ordered the catering, and smiled through it all, the loyal husband. The night of the party arrived. Our house was filled with people, music, and laughter. Jessica was in her element, floating from group to group, the gracious hostess. She looked beautiful, and for a fleeting second, the old pain flared up. But then I saw her exchange a subtle, knowing glance with Mark across the room, and my resolve hardened. Waited until everyone had arrived and the party was in full swing. Then, I walked to the sound system, cut the music, and tapped on a microphone. The room fell silent. All eyes were on me. "Hello, everyone," I began, my voice steady. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our 6th anniversary." Jessica beamed at me from across the room, holding her wine glass. 6 years is a long time, I continued. A time for building trust, for sharing dreams, and for being honest with one another. I thought that's what we had. I paused and let the silence hang in the air. But I've learned recently that some things aren't what they seem. I saw a flicker of confusion, then panic, in Jessica's eyes. I pulled a small remote from my pocket and pressed a button. The large TV screen on the wall, which had been displaying a slideshow of our happy photos, suddenly switched. The first image that appeared was a credit card statement, highlighted with charges for romantic dinners for two. A nervous murmur rippled through the crowd. The next image was a hotel booking confirmation in her name and Mark's. Gasps filled the room. Jessica's face went pale. Mark looked like he'd seen a ghost. His wife stared at the screen, her expression turning from confusion to horror. Then came the final photo. Jessica's car parked in front of Mark's apartment building, time-stamped on a night she was supposed to be in another city for work. Complete silence. You could hear a pin drop. I looked directly at Jessica. The mask was gone. All that was left was shock and humiliation. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "The lies," I said, my voice quiet but clear. "The lies are what destroy everything." I put the microphone down and walked through the stunned crowd. No one said a word to me. As I reached the door, I took one last look back. Jessica was standing alone in the middle of the room, her perfect world completely and utterly shattered around her. Her friends were staring, her colleagues were whispering, and Mark's wife was walking towards him with a look of pure fury. I hadn't raised a hand. I hadn't shouted a single insult. I simply held up a mirror to her actions and let the truth do the rest. I closed the door behind me and walked away, not knowing where I was going, but knowing I was finally free. My revenge was silent, but its impact was deafening. And sometimes, silence is the loudest sound of all.